Golden Dome, Part 3 of 3, The Marketplace of Survival. How opening the shield to the world finances, the shield that saves the world. Cold open. The wrong question. Can America afford the Golden Dome? That is the wrong question. Visual. Slow aerial pullback from a single containerized missile battery in a flat Eastern European field. More batteries appear. Then a city skyline in the distance. Then a satellite icon pulsing overhead. For 40 years, missile defense has been framed as a cost. A budget line. A drain on the treasury that never quite justified its price tag. But what if the premise is inverted? What if the Golden Dome, properly structured, is not an expense at all? What if it is a platform? Visual, the Amazon AWS logo, then the Intel logo, then the iPhone, then cut to a missile battery with a satellite uplink dish beside it. Amazon does not own every server that runs on AWS. Intel does not manufacture every device that carries its chip. Apple does not write every app that runs on iOS. They built the infrastructure. They licensed the access. And the users, by the millions, paid to be part of the network. This is part 3 of the Golden Dome series. This is the part where the shield starts paying for itself. Golden Dome. Part 3. The Marketplace of Survival. The problem with the Pentagon model. Visual congressional hearing room. Budget numbers on a screen. Senators shaking heads. The original sin of American missile defense is that it was always designed as a single-buyer system. The Pentagon writes the check. The Pentagon owns the network. The Pentagon decides who is protected. That model has a fatal flaw. It requires the United States government to be the only customer, the only financier, and the only operator of a system that, if it works, benefits the entire free world. Visual. Map of NATO. Dots light up. Poland, Romania, Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, Israel, Australia, Germany. Every one of these nations faces missile threats. Every one of them has defense budgets. Every one of them would pay, is already paying, for piecemeal solutions that don't talk to each other. Patriot batteries here, Aero systems there, NASAM somewhere else, an archipelago of disconnected local solutions that an adversary can rote around, overwhelm, or simply ignore. Visual, red arrows tracing between the gaps in NATO air defense coverage. The adversary doesn't need to beat every system. They just need to find one gap. And right now the gaps are everywhere. Visual, single stat on screen. Current NATO integrated air defense coverage of Eastern Europe, approximately 40% of total land area, 40%. That means a cruise missile flying nap of the Earth through Belarus can reach Warsaw with a 60% chance of encountering no intercept attempt at all. Not because the technology doesn't exist to stop it, because nobody bought a battery for that particular stretch of forest. Act 2, the coverage ratio framework. Visual, clean infographic. A 100 square mile grid appears. Systems populate it one by one. To understand what it would actually take to close those gaps, we need to speak in coverage ratios, not abstractions. Numbers. Visual, Tier 5, Freja Alt, FAM, LCI, Tier 5. The low-cost interceptor layer. A single containerized battery, roughly the size of a shipping container, covers a radius of 50 kilometers. That's approximately 7,050 square miles of cruise missile and drone swarm defense. Intercept probability against a subsonic cruise missile, 90 to 95%. Against a massed drone swarm, 98%. Against a theater ballistic missile, 70%. Against a hypersonic glide vehicle, 30%. Cost per battery fully deployed, $2 to $4 million. Visual. The math appears on screen. 3.8 million square miles, 7,850 does, 485 batteries. To achieve complete Tier 5 cruise missile coverage of the continental United States, every square mile, no gaps, you need approximately 485 batteries. Total cost, under $2 billion. That is 0.1% of the current Golden Dome program budget. Visual. Pause. Let that land. Read that again. Full continental cruise missile defense. Every square mile. Under $2 billion. The reason it hasn't been done is not technical. It is not financial. It is architectural. Nobody designed the system to be built that way. Visual. Tier 4, Patriot Pack 3. Tier 4, Patriot Pack 3. Coverage radius, 100 kilometers. approximately 31,400 square miles per battery. Intercept probability against cruise missiles, 95%. Against non-maneuvering theater ballistic missiles, 92%. Against hypersonic glide vehicles, 45%. Visual, Tier 3. THAAD, Tier 3. THAAD, Terminal High Altitude Area Defense. Coverage radius, 200 kilometers. Approximately 125,600 square miles. Intercept probability against ballistic missiles, 97%. Against hypersonic glide vehicles, 65%. Against cruise missiles, not designed for that role. Visual, Tiers 1 and 2. GBI plus HBTSS Space Layer, Tiers 1 and 2. Ground-based interceptors for mid-course ICBM intercept. And above them all, the HBTSS, the Hypersonic and Ballistic Tracking Space Sensor. The eyes in orbit that see what no ground radar can see. The space layer doesn't intercept. It illuminates. It eliminates the Earth's curvature. It closes the tracking gap on hypersonic threats. It hands targeting data to every layer beneath it, earlier, faster, more accurately. Visual, all 5 tiers stacking on the infographic. Combined coverage ratio numbers appear. Tiers 3 plus 4 plus 5 combined, 99% ballistic, 97% cruise, 75 to 80% HGV. Layered, these tiers don't add, they multiply. A missile that defeats Tier 5 has a 92% chance of being caught by Tier 4. If it defeats Tier 4, Tier 3 waits. If it defeats all 3, the space backbone has been tracking it since launch and has already handed its trajectory to a mid-course interceptor. This is not a wall, it is a probability gauntlet. And here is the critical insight that changes everything. Not every user needs every tier. Act 3, the menu. Visual, a clean, simple 3-tier menu appears, like a product pricing page. This is the paradigm shift at the heart of Golden Dome as a platform. Different actors face different threats, different budgets, different geographies, different risk tolerances. So the system needs a menu. Visual, Option 1, Point Defense Package. Option 1, the Point Defense Package. Tier 5 only. Target customer, a regional municipality protecting a power grid. A commercial shipping hub. A smaller allied nation, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, facing drone and cruise missile harassment from a neighbor who cannot afford a strategic nuclear exchange, but can absolutely afford to send a Shahed 136 through your parliament building. What you get, 90 to 98% intercept probability against the threats you actually face. What you pay, $2 to $4 million per battery. Licensing fee for targeting firmware, annual subscription. What the network gets, another node, another sensor. Another data point feeding back into the shared picture. Visual, Option 2, Theater Shield Package. Option 2, the Theater Shield. Tiers 3 through 5 integrated. Target customer, frontline NATO states. South Korea, Japan, Taiwan. U.S. military commands abroad. You face theater ballistic missiles, the Iskanders, the DF-21s, the KN-23s. You face hypersonic glide vehicles. You face combined arms salvos designed to overwhelm a single-layer defense. What you get, 95% plus against non-maneuvering theater ballistic missiles, 60 to 75% against maneuvering hypersonic glide vehicles, near total coverage against the cruise and drone threat. The key efficiency, by using Tier 5 to absorb the cheap incoming, the cruise missiles, the drones, the precision-guided munitions, you preserve your expensive Tier 3 and 4 interceptors exclusively for the high-velocity, high-priority threats. The cheap layer protects the expensive layer. The expensive layer handles what the cheap layer cannot. Visual, Option 3, Sovereign Canopy. Option 3, the Sovereign Canopy. All 5 tiers. Full integration with the space backbone. Target customer, the United States homeland. NATO Central Command. Any nation facing existential nuclear ICBM level threats. What you get, 98% against non-MIRV strategic ICBMs. Resilience up to the salvo inversion threshold. And the space layer, HBTSS, providing persistent, orbital, real-time tracking of every hypersonic and ballistic threat from boost phase to impact. What you pay, the full freight. But here's the part the traditional model missed. You don't pay alone. Act 4, the financing machine. Visual, a flywheel diagram. Tier 5 customers at the bottom. Revenue arrows flowing upward to HBTSS at the top. then back down as improved accuracy to Tier 5. Here is the machine. Every Tier 5 customer who buys a battery also buys a license to the targeting firmware. That firmware is updated by satellite. The satellite is funded by the licensing fees. The Tier 5 customers are not just users of the space layer. They are, involuntarily, structurally, by the design of the system, its financiers. Visual. Numbers populate the flywheel. Run the math. 500 Tier 5 batteries deployed globally. Average annual firmware licensing fee, $500,000 per battery. That's $250 million per year, flowing directly into the HBTSS operational budget from the lowest, cheapest tier alone. Add the Theater Shield customers. Poland buys 40 batteries. South Korea buys 60. Japan buys 80. Taiwan buys 50. That's 230 additional batteries at the Tier 3 through 5 level. Licensing fees at that tier, $1.2 million per battery annually. That's another $276 million per year. Visual. Total appears on screen, 5 or 26 year from Allied licensing alone, over $500 million per year, flowing back into the system. From customers who needed the protection anyway and would have spent that money on fragmented, incompatible, locally operated alternatives. The Golden Dome doesn't just defend the world. At sufficient adoption scale, the world defends the Golden Dome. Visual. The flywheel spins faster, and the flywheel accelerates. More customers mean a denser sensor network. A denser sensor network produces better tracking data. Better tracking data improves intercept probability at every tier. Higher intercept probability makes the system more attractive to the next customer. This is a network effect. The same dynamic that made the internet valuable, that made GPS indispensable, that made cellular networks inevitable. Defense, structured as a platform, exhibits the same compounding returns as any other platform. The adversary cannot replicate this. China cannot offer Poland a defense subscription. Russia cannot provide Japan a tiered coverage package with firmware updates. Their systems are closed, bilateral, politically contingent. The Golden Dome platform is open to approved customers, and every new node makes the network stronger for every existing node. Act 5. The approved buyer framework. Visual, a tiered clearance diagram. Like a security classification system, but for defense procurement. But open to everyone means open to adversaries. And that is where the framework requires its most careful architecture. The Golden Dome platform must have an approved buyer framework. A structured, treaty-backed, politically governed access system that determines who can buy at what tier. Visual. 3 clearance levels appear. Level 1 approved, full 5-tier access. Restricted to formal NATO allies, Five Eyes partners, and treaty-designated U.S. security partners with full intelligence sharing obligations. These buyers receive direct data integration with the HBTSS space backbone. Current candidates: United Kingdom, Germany, France, Poland, Japan, South Korea, Australia, Canada. Level 2 approved, Tiers 3 through 5. Theater Shield only. Available to allied democracies under active U.S. security agreements who have passed technology transfer review. No direct space backbone integration. They receive processed targeting data, not raw sensor feeds. Current candidates: Taiwan, Israel, UAE, Saudi Arabia, under reviewed conditions, Philippines, India under specific treaty frameworks. Level 3 approved, Tier 5 only. Point defense package. Available to a broader class of partners, including non-NATO democracies, municipal-level operators in allied nations, and critical infrastructure operators, under a commercial licensing model with export control compliance. No backbone access. Firmware is encrypted and remotely managed. The battery operates autonomously within its coverage zone, but contributes passive sensor data back to the network. Visual. A map populates with color-coded dots. Green for level 1, yellow for level 2, blue for level 3. What this map shows is not just a defense network. It is a revenue map. Every yellow dot is a Theater Shield customer paying licensing fees. Every blue dot is a Point Defense customer paying firmware subscriptions. Every green dot is a full-tier partner contributing to the cost-sharing model for the space backbone. The geography of the map is also the geography of the funding stream. And notice something else about the map. Visual, red zones, adversary territory, surrounded by colored dots. The adversary is encircled, not by American bases, not by American troops, by customers, nations that paid to be part of the network, nations with a financial stake in its survival. nations whose own defense infrastructure is now interoperable with and dependent upon the continued operation of the Golden Dome platform. That is not just a defense alliance, that is a defense economy. Act T6, the wasted strike problem. Visual, a war game simulation begins. Red arrows, a near-peer saturation strike. Now return to the adversary's calculus. A near-peer state, let's say a hypothetical aggressor with a sophisticated missile inventory, is planning a coordinated strike against a coalition of Golden Dome platform users. Their target list includes a Level 2 theater shield customer in Eastern Europe, 3 Level 3 point defense nodes protecting port infrastructure, and 1 Level 1 full architecture ally with direct HBTSS integration. Visual, the strike launches, missiles fan out. To saturate the Tier 5 layer alone across these targets, the aggressor must commit approximately 300 cruise missiles and 200 drone-class munitions. That is, conservatively, $1.2 billion in offensive inventory, expended against a network that cost its combined users $400 million to deploy and $100 million per year to maintain. Visual, cost comparison on screen. Offense, 1.2 B. Defense network cost, 400 bounders deployed plus 100 bounders a year. The attacker spends 3 times what the defender spent and achieves what, exactly? Even at a generous 30% leakage rate through Tier 5, meaning 30% of the cruise missiles get through, the Tier 4 layer catches 92% of those. Of the remaining leakers, Tier 3 catches 97%. The total residual threat reaching its targets under 1% of the original salvo. Visual, of 500 missiles launched, 4 to 5 reach targets, 4 or 5 missiles out of 500 for $1.2 billion against an infrastructure that cost $400 million to build and is now producing $500 million per year in licensing revenue to fund its own upgrades. Visual, pause. A near-peer strike of this scale against a distributed Golden Dome network is not a military strategy. It is an economic self-destruction. The attacker liquidates their precision offensive inventory. The defender's network, distributed, redundant, with no single point of failure, absorbs the strike, logs the engagement data, updates the firmware across all nodes, and becomes marginally better at stopping the next one. The only rational counter-strategy is to not launch at all, which is, of course, exactly what deterrence is supposed to produce. Act 7. The hardware. Firmware separation. Visual. An iPhone being held next to an iPhone box. Then, a missile battery next to its command terminal. The single most important structural decision in building the Golden Dome platform is the separation of hardware from firmware. Apple learned this lesson in the 1990s when it lost the PC wars. It refused to license its operating system. IBM clones ran Microsoft. Apple lost the market. Apple recovered by inverting the model with the iPhone. The hardware is almost commoditized. The value and the control lives in iOS. The Golden Dome must make the same choice deliberately. Visual. Diagram showing hardware tier, battery launcher radar, versus firmware tier, targeting OS, IFF protocols, HBTSS data link. The battery is hardware. The launcher is hardware. The radar is hardware. Allies can manufacture the hardware. Poland can build the launcher. South Korea can fabricate the radar array. Ukraine has already proven it can build the interceptor body. But the targeting operating system, the fire control firmware, the IFF protocols, the encrypted data link to the HBTSS satellite constellation, that is owned by the United States. It is licensed, not sold. It is updated remotely, not transferred. It can be revoked, precisely, surgically, by battery serial number, if a customer violates treaty conditions or if their hardware is captured by an adversary. Visual, a license revocation sequence, a battery going dark in the simulation. This is not a hypothetical capability. This is the exact model the US already uses for F-35 mission systems. The airframe is exported. The source code for the mission computer is not. Applied to the Golden Dome, this means the US generates hardware revenue on first sale. The US generates firmware revenue on annual subscription. The US retains operational control over every node in the global network, including the ability to partition, degrade, or disable any node that is compromised. The customer gets defense. The United States gets a recurring revenue stream, a persistent intelligence feed from every node's sensor data, and structural leverage over every customer's military capability for the life of the system. That is not a weapon sale. That is a platform subscription with geopolitical implications. Act 8. Golden Dome Inc. Visual. A clean corporate structure diagram. At the top, Golden Dome Platform Authority. Below it, 3 operating divisions. Narrator VO. To operationalize this, the United States needs a new kind of institution. Not a Pentagon program. Not a defense contractor. Not a foreign military sales office. Call it the Golden Dome Platform Authority, a federally chartered, congressionally authorized entity that operates at the intersection of national security and commercial defense technology. Its structure: Visual, Division 1, Technology and AMP, Space Backbone, Division 1, Technology and Space Backbone. Responsible for the HBTSS constellation, the targeting firmware, the data link encryption, and all system updates. Fully government-owned. Non-transferable. The crown jewels. Visual Division 2, Manufacturing and AMP, Co-Production. Division 2, Manufacturing and Co-Production. A consortium of U.S. prime contractors and allied manufacturers. L3Harris, Northrop, RTX, plus Kongsberg, Rheinmetall, Korean Air and Space, and the Ukrainian Defense Industrial Base through the Freja Alt program. Hardware is manufactured at scale across multiple allied nations using U.S.-designed specifications. No single factory is the single point of failure. No single supply chain is the single point of vulnerability. Visual, Division 3, Customer and AMP, Licensing Operations. Division 3, Customer and Licensing Operations. The Commercial Interface. The entity that processes approved buyer applications, manages annual firmware subscriptions, monitors compliance with export control and treaty obligations, and distributes revenue back to Division 1 for reinvestment in the space backbone. Think of it as the App Store for missile defense. Visual, Revenue Waterfall. Division 3 feeds Division 1. The revenue waterfall runs upward. Tier 5 subscriptions fund Tier 3 upgrades. Tier 3 license fees fund the HBTSS constellation maintenance. HBTSS makes Tier 5 more accurate. More accurate Tier 5 sells more Tier 5 subscriptions. The flywheel. Visual, a projected revenue table. Year 1 to 3, build-out phase. 200 batteries deployed globally. 120 in months annual licensing revenue. Year 4 to 7, scaling phase. 800 batteries. 480 members annual licensing revenue. Year 8 to 12, mature network. 2,000 plus batteries. 1.2 B plus in annual licensing revenue. Year 15 plus, full continental coverage achieved. System self-funding from licensing alone. By year 15, the most sophisticated missile defense network in human history is paying for its own space backbone from the licensing fees of customers who needed point defense against drones. The adversary funded the space layer by forcing the free world to buy protection from them. Act 9, the treaty architecture. Visual, United Nations building, then NATO headquarters, then a map of the Outer Space Treaty signatories. No platform survives without rules. The Golden Dome platform requires 3 treaty modifications to function legally and sustainably at global scale. Visual, Treaty 1. First, an interoperability standards treaty. A multilateral agreement, ideally within NATO, then extended to Level 1 and 2 partners, that establishes common data link protocols, IFF identification standards, and rules of engagement for cross-border intercepts. Without this, a Polish Tier 5 battery cannot legally engage a missile transiting its airspace that is targeting Germany. The Interoperability Treaty closes that legal gap. Visual, Treaty 2. Second, a Defensive Systems Export Control Framework. A modification to the existing Missile Technology Control Regime, the MTCR, that creates a distinct legal category for purely defensive interceptor systems, separate from offensive missiles. Currently, the MTCR treats a defensive interceptor with the same export caution as an offensive ballistic missile, because the underlying propulsion technology is similar. This is architecturally insane. An interceptor that can only hit another missile in flight is not the same as a missile that can hit a city. The treaty framework needs to catch up with the technology. Visual, Treaty 3. Third, a Space Backbone Sovereignty Agreement. As the HBTSS constellation expands, it becomes effectively global infrastructure. Like GPS, like the Internet backbone. A treaty framework that places the HBTSS constellation under a US-led but internationally recognized governance structure achieves 2 things simultaneously. It insulates the constellation from legal challenges by non-partner states who might argue it constitutes a surveillance system. And it creates a formal international stakeholder structure, allied nations with equity in the network's governance, that makes any attack on the constellation an attack on every stakeholder simultaneously. You don't just attack a US military asset, you attack the defense infrastructure of 40 nations. That is the most powerful deterrence upgrade in the entire architecture, and it costs nothing to implement beyond diplomatic will. Closing. The question answered, visual. Return to the opening aerial shot. The camera now at maximum altitude. The grid of batteries below. Hundreds of them, spread across continents. Satellite icons pulsing overhead. Can America afford the Golden Dome? The question assumed the United States would pay alone. It assumed the Pentagon model. One buyer, one network, one treasury footing the bill for the defense of the free world. That model failed Star Wars. It nearly failed the Patriot program. It is already straining under the weight of a $1.2 trillion price tag that Congress is looking at with considerable skepticism. Visual. Congressional budget hearing again. Then, the flywheel. Then, the global map of colored nodes. But the platform model does not ask that question. The platform model asks, how many customers would pay for what the network offers? And the answer, from Poland to Japan, from South Korea to the UAE, from municipal infrastructure operators to commercial port authorities, is enough. Enough to fund the space backbone from licensing fees alone. Enough to close the geographic gaps through customer-driven deployment. Enough to encircle every near-peer adversary, not with American troops, but with customers who have a financial stake in the network's survival. Visual. Final number on screen. 485 batteries. 1.2 B. Full continental cruise missile coverage. 2,000 global batteries by year 15. 1.2 B annual licensing revenue. System self-funding. The Golden Dome is not a budget problem. It is a business model problem. And the business model, modular, tiered, licensed, network compounding, adversary encircling, is sitting right there, waiting to be built. Visual. Slow fade to black. Final text appears. Golden Dome. Part 3 of 3. The Marketplace of Survival. Parts 1 and 2 covered the architecture and the economics of the interceptor. Part 3 covers the platform that makes it permanent.